Beef cattle reproduction. Today we're going to talk about the estrus synchronization and how it's used to control and manipulate the estrus cycle on females to express estrus at approximately the same time. It is a useful part of an AI program because checking for heats and breeding in a particularly large pasture areas is time consuming and expensive. This estrus synchronization is a good tool to use for embryo transfers, but can also be used for natural services. Take a moment, visit the Iowa Beef Center website, download the estrus synchronization planner that is put together by Beef Production Task Force. It's going to help you determine if utilizing a sync program is cost effective for you. You can also take a look at the AI cow calculator that is put together by the University of Florida, and so it is. You can also take a moment, pause the video, and look at the most recommended sync systems for beef heifers and cows. Some producers cannot economically afford a artificial insemination, but can benefit from a sync program. Observations have shown that a bull can service between 5 to 20 females in a 24-hour period. So you can expose your bull in a small pen to these cows after a sync program to be able to optimize the pregnancy rates. Pregnancy rates during sync programs can vary anywhere between 60 to 80 and 75 to 95% during a 30-day breeding season. Embryo transfers have been successfully done in rabbits as early as the 1890s and in cattle in 1951. The primary function of this is to jumpstart your herd and be able to increase the reproductive rate of valuable females. In this procedure, you take an embryo in its early stages of development from the mother, in this case the donor cow, and transfer that to another female, in this case a recipient. Even greater increases in reproductive rates can be expected as new technologies are improved. Other uses of embryo transfers are also done to obtain offsprings from infertile cows and export those to other breeding stocks. And they're also done to reduce the risk of diseases. You can take a moment and review the flushing diagram. It talks about removing those eggs from the donor cow to be able to take those embryos and then take them into another recipient cow. Commercially, embryo transfer companies have been established all over the world, especially in the United States. One that sticks out to me is one that's been done here in Wisconsin, that is Blueprint Genetics. It's a newer company and it's growing. More than 576,000 embryos are transferred annually throughout the world, and about half of those are done in the United States. So it is a good system that is being utilized by multiple producers. Approximately 40% of those transfers are done fresh, with the remaining 60% coming from frozen embryos. Now that we talked about embryo transfer and natural services and artificial insemination, let's talk about determining pregnancies. Some calf-calf operation, it is very economical for them to determine pregnancies because it allows them to take those non-pregnant females and evaluate them for culling, and because a cow that is just eating is going to offset your production cost. So one cow that doesn't give you a calf and you got to feed it for the rest of the year is going to cost you on average $700 to $800. So it is important for you to know if you want to keep that cow another year, if you can afford to feed that cow for another year. Smaller herds have a hard time adapting pregnancy determinations, but as the herd gets bigger, specifically between 100 to 200, more than 70% of those herds have adapted a standard method of pregnancy detection. If you take a moment and pause this table, you can talk about basically what you're looking for days of gestation. It is kind of hard, specifically for me, to determine pregnancy at 30 days of gestation, but as they get farther along, it is easy for you to find and determine those diameters. So take a moment, review this table, and if you have a chance to be able to preg check one of your cows at home, this is a good thing to go back to and read about to see if you're feeling for those, if you can determine those sizes, those diameters inside the reproductive tract. Other ways to determine pregnancies is utilizing bioprint testing, right? It costs between $3 to $5, and this number is getting cheaper and cheaper as technology improves. And it's commonly used by basically looking at blood-based pregnancy testing, right? And they're rather accurate, about 99% of the accurate at least 28 days post-breeding. And this is important because if you're going to do a AI sync program, then you can wait 28 days test, and you right away you can turn around, either utilize the child to utilize and then restart the sync program again to either expose into a bull or another round of AI, and this can reduce your calving season. Now let's move on to parturition. We got them bred, we tested for pregnancies. Now we gotta get them out, right? So we're gonna start with stage 1. In first-time females, it is most noticeable, specifically in those heifers, right? They're going to isolate themselves. They're going to exhibit restlessness. They're going to be getting down, getting up, just basically laying down, getting up a lot. It's going to last anywhere between 2 to 4, 2 to 6 hours, somewhere around that area. Then you're going to go to stage 2, and basically you're going to start seeing cervical dilation. You're going to either see the water sag extending through the vulva. This stage is considered basically an active labor, right? So you're going to start seeing the calf come out, visible progress towards delivering that calf. It should take anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes, sometimes a little longer. So you gotta kind of watch it and wait as those heifers are delivering. The stage 3 is characterized by the expulsion of the fetal membrane, and this should be done between 12 hours following birth. Make sure not to pull it. Let that drop on its own. If you decide to pull it, you can leave any remnants of tissue, and this can turn necrotic, and the uterus might become infected and lead to serious problems such as death. So be careful and do not pull that fetal membrane. Calving losses, right? We got them to calve. Now the calf is on the ground. We're making sure those calves are dry. They're not close to open cows so they don't get hit. We got to make sure that they drink colostrum, so they want to make sure that they nurse right away. Other things that can cause losses is dystocia, and this is calving difficulties. Dystocia is calving difficulties. A calf that has a hard time coming out of the cow, and so you have to either assist it, call a vet to help you assist it, and we talked about those procedures later on here. So that's something that's very, very difficult to deal with, and you have to be prepared. However, procedures have been put in place to help you reduce the chances of having dystocia. In this case, you can utilize EPDs such as Cavanese, birth weight, to be able to increase or reduce the chances of having dystocia. You can still have dystocia problems or calving difficulty problems in approximately 4% of mature cows. So this is not just in heifers. So you have to be paying attention to your herd. You can take a moment, pause the video, take a look at the positions here of what a normal delivery should be of a calf and compare it to a breech, a backwards, or a head back position. And it tells you about kind of difficulties on pulling this calf. These are some of the methods that you can utilize. You can utilize a chain. You can either do a double hook. As you look in D, that's the most recommended one. As you basically increase the contact points to be able to pull that calf. You want to pull towards you and down to reduce any damage. Calf losses from 24 hours of birth all the way to weaning still pretty high, around 6%. Those can be due to either severe weather, maybe a frozen, those can be due to severe weather, maybe a blizzard, maybe a heavy torrential rain, a lot of mud, maybe too crowded of a pen. So you gotta be paying attention to those things that can still cause losses after birth. The biggest one is probably diseases. So make sure you treat your cows. Maybe you dip that navel to prevent any infections. Provide some sort of medicine for scours and pneumonia to increase the health of those calves. So management practices here to reduce those losses is improve your calving facilities. Provide some bedding, right? Improve the sanitation. Maybe find a way to reduce the muddiness if there's a lot of mud in the pen, right? Treat your sick calves, provide electrolytes, make sure that you can take a look at those cows pretty often. If you can put a camera, that'll be great, right? Have a vaccination protocol. Make sure that you improve the nutrition of the cows as well so you can get milk, as that's important. So this is something to consider, right? When you're rebreeding heifers and cows. Heifers that calve early in the first and second calving season are going to continue to calve early through their lifetime. So pay attention to this when making your decisions of your calving window, whether you want that to be 60 days, 100 days, 120 days. And so it is something to consider. Heifers that calve late in the calving season are more likely to be open when they're 3 years old. So if you're going to be making a culling decision, this is something to consider as well, as that's going to help you in a way to decide whether you want to feed that cow longer, give it another chance, maybe get another calf or a bull calf out of it if you so desire. Heifers that are fed together with cows typically are not going to get the same amount of feed, right? Mature cow is going to be more dominant. It's going to push the heifer out of the way, get her fair share of the feed, and the heifer might not get enough of it. So it is recommended to feed your heifers, your 2 to 3 year old cows, separately from your mature cows, so you can increase the nutrition factor of those cows and shorten your postpartum interval. Also, another thing to consider is being able to breed those heifers early. I understand that breeding heifers early is going to increase your calving window, but that's crucial to allow those heifers to regain basically their health. They are still growing. They got to keep growing. They got to get nutrition status to be high so they can get rebred right away after they calve.